Have you ever wondered what it would be like to make your dreams come true? The attainable ones, not your wet dreams. Unless you're a pirate, that's what we're talking about today on the DUM Podcast. So, yo ho ho, get ready, cause here we go. What up, y'all, and welcome back to the DUM Podcast. I am Dario. In this episode, we're going to be finding the funny on the Ha Ha Hack. We also welcome a very special guest to the podcast to talk about how to start your own business. And of course, we're going to be finishing up with a little Jiggity Joke Session, so kick back, chillax, and enjoy. The Ha Ha Hack is where we share our experiences of doing stand-up comedy while we're all in the trenches together. Yeah, we may not be professionals yet, but there are definitely things that we learn and we like to share with everyone. Today, we're going to be talking about how to find the funny in our jokes. Number one, record ourselves. And we've talked about this before, whether it's audio or video. We want to record ourselves to actually find the parts that make us funny. We may think that our punchline is the funniest part. By recording ourselves, watching it, listening to it, we're able to find out that maybe it's not the punchline, maybe it's your setup, or maybe it's a character in your joke that is the funniest part. And that's how we start building and finding the funny. Make sure if you're recording in a venue or at an open mic that you ask permission first. A lot of people don't feel comfortable with you recording, so make sure that you're not the person offending people at a mic. Number two, have a comedy buddy, someone that we can test our jokes on, someone that will give us positive feedback. They may give us a little bit deeper insight rather than recording ourselves. We may be able to see something on our recordings or hear something on our recordings, but having a comedy buddy gives us someone that we can bounce things off of. Number three, if you're having a hard time finding topics to talk about, check the news. Look on the internet. Check current events. Maybe even jump on social media. There are always things to talk about. Number four, it's a phone exercise. Call somebody once in a while. We lose a lot of feeling and a lot of emotion when we text. And make sure that every time you're talking to somebody, whether you're sitting down with someone, that we're writing these things down. I've lost so many jokes when I've thought of them talking to somebody or even just by myself at night. It may be something that we're going through in life and we may think, I'll never forget that. This is what I'm going through now. By the time you wake up, joke is gone. Number five, it's a character exercise. We may have characters in our jokes. It may be our parents. It may be our friends. It may be our significant other. Whoever it is might have the perfect joke just by being them. It could be a personality trait. It could be something they say. It could be a fault of theirs. I'm not saying to make fun of people. What I'm saying is have fun. Create characters. Doesn't always have to be 100% true. You can take the character and make it your own. Number six, criticism. Ask for it. Take it. Be able to take it. But always know that we want something constructive. We don't want somebody who's destroying us every single chance that they get. We want somebody that's going to help us build, someone that we can bounce things off of. I go to a lot of open mics, and if people will stay and listen to my set, I ask them what they thought of the entire thing or even pieces of it. I want to get that reaction. I want to know what to talk about. There have been plenty of people that have asked me about certain jokes, and I'll give them my feedback. They've changed it, and it's gotten better. All I'm saying is it takes somebody outside of yourself to be able to give you something to build on. I have Alex. He's the one that I can bounce things off of. And while there may be times where I am very rude to him, very harsh, I use a lot of harsh language with him, he knows that I always mean well and I'm just trying to be funny. And I love you, Alex. I hope you get better, buddy. Don't die. We thank you for all your support here at the DUM Podcast. Now, we want to hear from you. So if you have any jokes you want to hear on air, send them to us and we'll make sure you're on the next episode. Also, if you just like to say hi or give us your feedback, we'd love to hear it. You can reach us by email at thedumpodcast@gmail.com. That's TheDumpodcast@gmail.com. Or by phone at 602-935-7307. You've got 3 minutes. Now let's hear it. This week on the DUM Podcast, we're going to be talking about entrepreneurship and basically how to make your dreams come true. For this, I'm welcoming my very special guest and amazing friend, Phil Davis. Yeah, give him a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, Phil. How are you, buddy?
Very good, Don. Thank you so much for having me on the DUM Podcast. I feel smarter by being on the DUM Podcast.
Thanks, man. It's been a while. How long has it been? Like 10 years? What? A long time, right? Yeah, we're 2021, almost 11 years.
I was in my late 20s when I last left you, and now I'm coming back around and being 40. So, yep, some time.
Dude. Well, you've been doing a lot. We're going to get into this right away. I want to talk about entrepreneurship because for me, it was the example of that entrepreneur came from my mother. She started her own business. It was a catering business. And from that, she showed us how to work hard. You know, she demonstrated how to be determined and how to have excellent customer service and how that goes a long way, especially in your own business. Now, I know you were doing something before that, which is, you know, you may still be doing it, but I know you started something new. You mind telling us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been in the my trade has been in the medical field for about almost now 20 years. So I've started, short version of it, I lived in Northern California during the big fires, the Presley fire, about 4 or 5 years ago. We evacuated, and shortly afterwards, I drove my family cross country to see my brother in New York. And I heard on the news about how a lot of the people whose home burned down, unfortunately, they were now selling what is barren land, and people were building on it, and they were selling them for, you know, $700,000-$800,000, and they were buying them for $100,000. So I was like, wow, this is, you know, a really great idea. As I traveled through the country in Nevada, I saw signs like $99 for land. I'm like, what? And I just had an epiphany saying that eventually humans will spread out and we're going to cover everything. You know, I feel like ant colonies everywhere. And, you know, to buy land now, you're going to get, you know, people are going to want to buy land. And I thought about flipping houses, and I said, man, you know, you start with learning land, you still need the ground to do anything.
Right.
So it was more of a learning process. And then fast forward to where I'm at now, I went full steam ahead and got a wife, got a kid while I'm doing it. And it's been a great journey.
What's the company name?
Ancestry Lands, like Ancestry. You know, just think of generations. I really tried to concentrate on, my model is I buy properties that I own, and I will eventually will them to my children to pass on, because we all used to be from families of landowners. And through the course of history, that's changed with economics and capitalism. But I wanted to get back to those roots of passing something down other than debt. Right. And, you know, it's not just knowledge, but there's knowledge in the land, and that you are giving wealth. Real estate has made the most millionaires throughout history. And that's something that I'm a resource, allowing people to be just like me.
Yeah. So was this like, I know the type of business, did it just come to you while you saw things happening, or was it something that you kind of, it was a dream that you made come true?
So I look at it as my owning land was a vehicle, you know, a car that you buy now for as a business. it became just buying land, learning land. And then I saw it as an opportunity to help people, underserved class, people of color, non-affluent areas, that to give them a chance, a doorway into the land ownership. And it came more about servicing communities. I have a
Nice.
lot of Hispanic clients, minority, I just have a little bit of everything, but a
Yeah.
lot of times we have a Spanish side of our website that really speaks to Hispanic population. So I wanted to make sure that it wasn't just about my people, but it was about all people, and trying
Nice.
to service their needs, speaking their language, and get a
Nice.
foothold into the community.
So it's like a vehicle to the actual big dream that you wanted to do is to help people.
I mean, following the ancestry to generational, I would love for my kids, one or both of them, to take the handle. My brother's brought a property for me; he's now a landowner. My nephew, one of my roommates from college, he lives in Arizona too as well,
Mm.
and they all have children, except for my nephew. But the whole point is to pass something on. So even this knowledge of owning land and making a business out of it,
Yeah.
that's become a business within itself, to pass that knowledge down to my children and make other
Awesome.
people successful landowners themselves. And I did it with my own money and very little money to begin with. And I didn't borrow anything. I didn't run credit. And I did it very slowly, methodically. And 3 years later, I'm here where I'm at now on your podcast.
Wow, man, that's awesome. And just to let you know, I will eventually be one of your clients, my friend, an investor, something, because that's always been a dream of mine is to own land, whether I live there, whether, like you said, I pass it on to my children or anybody in my family. We will talk soon, my friend. We will. So, yeah, I think you answered one of my questions already, but what was your first step when you decided to do this?
The first thing I did was I took a class. It was about $10,000 to learn
Damn.
how to understand land in itself. I did a lot of research on my own, and first thing you got to do is find where you want to buy your properties at, and then connecting with the people who own them. There's a whole method of how to get that in there, but the real knowledge comes in where you learn how to make offers and deals and build up that reputation with owners. People I've never met any of the owners that have sold
Yeah.
me properties. And I've only been to one of the properties I've owned. So, it's a very remote business where you can do it from anywhere. And
Yeah.
that was the first step, is, formulating my plan on how I was going to attack the business very
Yeah.
slowly and methodically, making sure that I don't overstep, and I don't start bringing in hiring people until I don't know my business. I know my business top to bottom.
Yeah.
And that
So,
was the key to my success.
so do you have a lot of contact with the people that you're buying the property from, or are you dealing with like company to company type of thing?
The first point of contact, I try to reach out to them always, because, a lot of these people, generationally, you're talking to people who bought properties 40, 50, 60 years ago. And I always like to get on the phone, even if I go through a title company. I make sure that I contact them always. It's just like calling your mom or calling your grandma. You want to check in on them,
Hmm.
because they need that personal touch. They don't need you to do emails. I always try to get on the phone with them and let them know I'm a real person, and what my goals and aspiration are. When you give your story to people
Yeah.
and you're honest with them and open, they can sense that, and they're very trusting to a person who is not just about the business. And I
Yeah.
always tell them is that, I want to take your property and give it to someone else who can make a dream out of it, and hold on to there. And people don't want money; they're more willing to sell to me because they want to make that dream happen for someone else.
Yeah.
So,
That's awesome,
and they're
dude.
all
That's good.
located on ancestrylands.com, where we don't charge interest, we don't do credit checks, and that's another way that I serve that community.
Good. That's awesome, dude. I think this next question you kind of already answered. So you didn't finance any of your startup funds? Did you save for years and years? How did you get there?
Yeah, so I did this all while putting a wife through school. My wife has a bachelor's degree in kinesiology. She did
Wow.
that while we had both of my son is going to be turning 5.
She was in school pregnant?
Yeah, she was in
Wow.
school pregnant with my daughter. When I met her, she was just gotten her associates, and then she's a personal trainer now, but she has a bachelor's in kinesiology. So we kind of
Smart.
we got married before we had the baby, but the baby was born
Yeah.
right after we got married. Put the
Yeah.
ring on. Oh, to the delivery room.
Yeah. Smart and strong woman.
Yeah,
That is
and off
amazing.
one income too. But when I met my wife, she did not have any debt as well, and I cleared off all my debt. So I worked a lot of overtime in the medical field and built up some savings and started very small, $500, and bought my first property. Went out and sold it from there, and I learned what I can teach now is a lot of what I've learned along the way. But being a very studious person has helped me greatly.
Yeah. Good.
So,
So,
and I've never financed. I got to
no.
answer your question. I've never taken money from anyone else. It started with my own money. I have a video on my Facebook page where it says my daughter at 3 years old stuffing letters in my when we
Oh,
mailed
nice.
letters together, and she was my stamp girl.
That's awesome, dude.
My wife would
S-
be while I'm working overtime, writing your address, mailing up to you. I was like, here's a stack of 300. Go fill them out, and I'm going to work. So we were a great team.
That's awesome. So, they're your business partners. Do you have any other business partners at all?
My daughter was, I'm going to just say for child labor laws, my daughter was doing a stamp project.
Volunteering.
Her, it was a stamp book that
Fun.
she was stamping
Right.
off. She was my official stamper. It was not labor.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So what do you consider like the best and I guess the worst thing about starting your own business?
The best part about starting your own business is, well, let me backtrack and start on the worst. Let me give you the worst thing. The
Okay.
worst thing about starting your business is not having a lot of support and not having people that believe in you. And when I say believe in you, is they believe in you elbow to elbow, not at arm's length. Like, I believe in you, but way over there.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I'm over here.
Yeah, they generally have a wait and see approach where they want to see you successful before they really start to, yeah, buy in. I had a Without throwing anything out there, but I used to try to look for investors, and I would say, hey, listen, if you give me $500, this is close friends and family, give me $500, I'll give you 750 back in 6 months. I'll write a contract, everything. And I'm like, they said no. I said, man, you can't even get a deal like that at a bank,
Yeah.
you know? And
Yeah.
and now people want to throw that deal at you. Can I?
Yeah, I'll give you 500 bucks. I'll give you 500 right now.
Yeah. So, and that was a way for me. What I wanted to do again, and enriching the people around me, is that I wanted to give people a chance to buy into me and be part of that success. So,
That's good, man. Sharing the wealth.
yeah, the best part about being in a business is now, all, when I say I have time, I mean I have time being at home. I work about 4 days a month in the medical field still. Some people call me in the
Wow.
medical field semi-retired, and
Wow.
I work in a very high-paying medical field. So to do that was freeing me, where I'm home. My son and my daughter, especially during the virus pandemic, they have a father who's home. I can work at the computer and be home, and then I can still take an hour out to do homework or play with them. My daughter, she just brings her tablet, sits on the bed, and watches me work. I'll come over, and we'll sit and watch whatever show they like watching now that doesn't make any sense.
YouTube.
Yeah, but they're growing up with dad at home, and the best part about it is that when they get old enough, I'm able to teach them how to be free as well. So it's generational knowledge, wealth, everything.
That's awesome, dude. That's great, man. And congratulations on the kids. And you set such a great example for them, dude. That's so amazing. I see you posting on Facebook all the time. You're a great dad and you're a great example, man. Let me ask you, even though it sounds lovely, it sounds amazing, sounds like you're making your dreams come true, is there ever, do you ever feel like giving up at any point? Do you ever come to these walls where you're just like, oh, I can't, man. I can't.
No, I don't think you feel like giving up. I think the giving up period was. Um, I don't think I ever had that. For instance, I had a hernia surgery, and as soon as I was home, I was probably 2 hours out of the bed, getting up, working. The day after the surgery, I spent 8 9 hours working on my business. I think that the giving up is when people decide to not put in enough work and realize that they're investing in themselves. That my wife was like, "What are you doing laying down there?" And I said, "Listen, I've got to, this is the time where I've got to overcome to make sure this is what's going to make me successful." And it's that time the giving up is not necessarily, I don't want to do this anymore. It's making an excuse on why you're not going to do for yourself. It's almost saying that I'll go work at a job for 8 hours, but I won't go put 8 hours in the time for myself.
Oh, that's a
And
very
it's,
good
that
point.
was where I've never given up. I've done that and I got the scars to prove it.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's true. That's a very good point, man. I got to think about that. It's hard doing a podcast sometimes, you know? And I'll say, man, you know, there's been times where I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. Why am I doing this? But then, you know, you focus on the reason why you started it in the first place. And it is for my kids, you know? I started this podcast to kind of leave something for them. I can't talk about these topics to them now. They're not going to understand something. Some things are not appropriate for them to hear. But when I'm gone, I hope that, you know, they can go back and watch these things, listen to them, and learn something from them, which is why I wanted you on here. I think that you're a great example as a father, and not just as an entrepreneur, but as a father, man, and both of those things. And as a person, you know, I've always loved the way that you think about things, and I think everybody listening right now can tell why. Here's another question for you. I guess it's kind of the same thing. I guess you kind of answered it, but what keeps you going when it's hard, when it's frustrating, when it's like maybe things aren't going right, maybe people aren't investing, maybe people aren't buying? What do you envision, or what's your mindset, and what keeps you going at that time?
So good. That's a very good question. I always try to do things with the end in mind. And I always know that you're going to have kind of the ebbs and flows in life. And you got to remember your why, you know what, and part of when I say looking at your why is that, why did you want to do this? And kind of taking a step back to appreciate how far you've come. Um,
Mm,
no matter how hard it gets, I look at where am I at right now? And, you know, I'm home with my kids. My wife gets annoyed at me because I'm around more. You know, I notice every little, you know, every little sock that's on the floor, I'm on it. I'm like, why is there a
yeah.
sock there? You know,
Oh,
so,
yeah.
and I look at that as being in the moment. And, you know, sometimes I'm working, I'm looking outside and my kids are playing and I'm like, I'm providing that. And that's where you get to show your work and, you know, where you can see the
Yeah.
results of your hard work. And
Right.
that's
Being in
what I
that
look at
moment.
that keeps me going. And I'm saying, I got to keep building, you know. If you build a house and it falls down, well, you got to rebuild again, and you're going to learn what made it fall that time and rebuild, and it may fall again, you rebuild, and eventually you're going to build a house that someone's going to go by and say, hey man, I saw you building that house and it kept falling down 3-4 times and now you got it up. Could you build my house for me? You know, and
Yeah.
that's what you got to work for, you know, for
Yeah.
that recognition.
Yeah, definitely. That's awesome, dude. Yeah, you know, a lot of people are like, what does this have to do with comedy? Isn't this a comedy podcast? Doing comedy is being your own boss. You know, you are the business, you know. Having talent and knowing how to hone that talent and perfect that talent and be able to sell yourself. You know, I've never had such a hard time than trying to get people to come to a show, you know, and they'll give me excuse after excuse. And I love you people. Come to a show. I'm not saying I have any bad feelings towards you. You have your lives. But it's me constantly having to text somebody or call somebody. I can't just post it online on Facebook or on Instagram and people are gonna show up. I have to actually ask people and solidify the you know the date. I feel like I'm asking people to go on a date with me all the time and I'm getting rejected left and right, and people say, oh yeah, I promise I'll be there. I want to see you. I want to see you, bro. And then nobody shows and it's like, ugh. But you know, I think it's important to know, and you hit it right on the head, and all the answers are great. It's very important to know that you don't always have to work for someone. You can work for yourself. and like you said, putting in those 8 hours at a job that you hate and just putting it in, falling asleep, but making it till your clock out. Do the same thing for yourself. I think that's a great point that you made, man.
Well, I think also too, man, you got to talk to those people who are standing you up because you're a very good looking date, so
Thanks, man. Thanks.
and definitely, I definitely, I would say come out and support a show because you may get a chance to meet me at the shows once I start linking up with them, and we all can
Yeah.
be maskless, if you will. So you see my
Oh,
laughing
yeah.
at his jokes, so
Yeah,
that's a
boy.
shame, but
All right, man.
yeah,
Can't wait to
get
see
out
you
there
out
to
here
come see
soon.
me, too as well.
Yeah. Hell yeah. All right. All right, Phil. So, talking about your business, one of the reasons that I love your business, I want to be part of your business, but there was a post on social media on Facebook where you were talking about your mentality in business and where you got the what you learned, and a lot you learned on your own. I know that you're a very strong person, but ever since I known you, you've always kind of told me the things that your dad had kind of told you, or when you're growing up, and how he taught you certain things and what things you kept and what things you didn't. And when I saw that post, it was talking about how your dad was that person who was constantly saying these things, and how he taught you on listening to everything but only accept what you find is true, right? Or what you find what works for you. And then he replied, and he said, it's nice to know that you were paying attention. And that melted me, man. And I was just like, since my dad passed away, I was just like, that's amazing. I love that you have that relationship with your dad, and that you're able to kind of pull the good things out of that. And I think it's what's gotten you where you are today. It makes you. You're a very unique person, very awesome person. But do you feel like it was your dad that kind of kept you going, and do you think that's something that your kids will also kind of follow?
Well, first, thank you for that. Yeah, I think I'm going to say this. My dad is he can be a gift and a curse, and I say that with all love. My dad is my biggest fan, my biggest critic, and my
Yeah.
biggest detractor, and my biggest supporter, all in one.
Nice.
I've learned. I struggled having a relationship with my father that was I would consider positive, due to my father loves hard, um, criticizes hard,
Yeah.
supports hard. Everything he does is to that extreme, and he has had there's a reason behind that. My dad, like much like yourself, he didn't come from that environment that I'm coming from, where he came from. My wife and my dad are very similar. They're kindred spirits. They don't have the same support system that I've had with both of them. But what happened for me was understanding that, like you and I, were parents, and our kids see us as the All Father. You know, you're Odin's son,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they forget that you were, Don Dario, the man.
Yeah.
And when I grew up and I understood that he was a man, fallible, and had devices, he had vices and virtues just like I do as a man now, I humanized my dad. And I learned
Okay.
that he has his flaws, and I need to accept him as a man, as a human, not as my father, sitting in the Asgardian throne of judgment that I
Right.
always felt I was a servant to,
Yeah.
and
Good, man.
I think once I understood that, and I became a father myself, I started looking at, I now have the duty to be judged in the same way I've judged him for his goods and bads, the same way.
Right.
And
Right.
my dad always taught me, whether I was listening or not, he talked to me, and having that conversation with me I can remember the many things my dad told me. And I was like, why did you tell me that at 11? I
Yeah.
did never understood that. When I was
Yeah.
21, that's when it kicked in and it hit me like light bulb.
Yeah.
But it just talking to your kids, teaching is not, you don't have to leave a big memoir. You can talk to them along the way, and that experience, they may not remember all of it, but it will pop back up in their mind. And my dad and I, we have talk, we call it King's Talk, talk amongst Kinglish is what we call it. And when we
Nice.
talk business, and my dad, he does support me now. He's always supported me, but listening to him, I look at it as, you're an old king, I'm a new king, and you're giving me counsel. And I talk to my dad in that way. I'm always looking for his counsel, wisdom. And
Nice.
sometimes it's not, my dad's like, I looked at your video, it's hold your head up, Ty, your shoulders over here, and 3 inches to the left.
He's
and
still.
I'm like, what about what I just said? Did any of that hit?
Yeah.
But I've learned that that's love too. He wants, he's looking, he sees me as perfection always. And,
That's great.
you gotta kind of become your own man. But I learned that with my dad. Actually, I'll take a step back. I actually didn't know this, but I was learning how to invest in land all my life, because my dad has had his last 3 or 4 homes, and currently the home now he's had built from the ground up. So,
Wow.
yeah. And
That's
one of the things I
amazing.
love about selling land is that if you build a house on the land I sell you, I was fortunate enough to be the first person living in my own bedroom. Like when
Nice.
I literally,
Fresh.
the walls, everything, and that was a very crazy experience being a teenager and saying, man, I'm the first one that ever lived in my own bedroom. That's,
Wow.
this
That's
house
cool, man.
is 6 months old. I'm older than my home.
Yeah.
And that my dad has done that since I was in high school. He sold a house 2003, bought a new house, built it from the ground up. And then he's building his next home. I think this is his 3rd or 4th home that he's built from the ground up. And there's something about being in there that's just a magical that you can give to your kids too as well. Just think about that experience, being able to say that. But my dad is a very, very, I would relate him to Serena Williams' father. That's how my dad was.
We have to get Mr. Davis. First of all, thank you, sir, for this young man. You did a wonderful job. And just know this guy is going to go exactly where you thought he was going to go. So if you ever have any worries, everybody around him knows that. And that's why I wanted to talk about your dad today, because he needs to know that. And I'm pretty sure he does already. And Mr. Davis, we'd love to have you on the podcast in the future, have a follow-up with you, both of you guys. That would be awesome. He's going to love that, huh? Dude, but you're talking about exactly, and I think we found the title to when you're talking about Kinglish, I think we found the title to our podcast with that. I think you'll be very happy with what we come up with. But you're talking about, first of all, living in the moment, and then also, how he loves hard and talks hard. And that's something that I'm going through right now with my kid. I love them so much. I love them all so much. And when I talk to them, I do talk hard. And that's one of my biggest things, that I try to slow down and live in that moment and breathe. I've got to breathe. But it's good to know that it's not just me, that a person like you can come from something like that. So I always think, man, maybe I'm going to screw him up, maybe by talking to him so hard or giving him that hard truth that he's just going to go the opposite way. But I think you're living proof that you can still be that person that, your dad wanted to be, and the person that he pictured. So good job, Mr. Davis. Look forward to both Mr. Davises. Look forward to having you guys back again.
We might need to make sure we screen my dad's stuff, because he'll give it to you raw. He's like,
I'm going to love that.
Yeah,
I'm going to love that.
We'll have a disclaimer up there, so he's not, I don't want to come back to you like your dad.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, get ready. It's time for the Jiggity Joke Session. All right, guys. This is the Jiggity Joke Session where we write jokes and read them. We've got my friend Phil, who is hilarious. We might have gotten to some serious topics, but funny man. Phil, since you are the very special guest, sir, you will go first.
Okay. So I tell my kids, I'm always talking to my kids about, not biting their nails. And my kid always goes, I say, hey, stop biting your nails. He goes, I'm just biting his skin. And I'm looking at him and I'm saying, okay, but they're your toes and that's gross.
Nice. All right. Good one. All right. Phil, all this talk about entrepreneurship has me thinking. I'd have a hell of a lot more money if I didn't waste it on all those Weight Watcher points that clearly aren't working. Fucking Alex, dickhead. So he's talking shit. Always talking shit, man, even when you're dying.
Oh, wow.
All right, you're next.
All right. Okay, so this one gets a little hairy here, so I'll try to navigate around these muddy waters here. So I definitely have been a server, a waiter in my life, and at a catering place, the more seasoned woman definitely made me feel like a lady of the night because they were very nice to me, very touchy and grabby. And when it was time to pay, they try to touch you in places where kids point to and say it's inappropriate. I'm thinking Catholic priest here. I don't know why.
Nice. That's good. I see you working it. All right. Good one. My turn. Things are really looking up for me, Phil. I recently just came into some money. At least that's what she said her name was.
Oh my gosh. Give me 1 second. Oh my goodness. That is wow. Okay. Oh, this one. Okay. Okay, so as a kid, we all got our first idea of romance from Pepe Le Pew, who's been axed now in the world. I think he was the model for, at least when you were younger, probably the first example in the future how not to approach women. Now with the culture that it is, I think all our practice subjects when we were children, we're going to have to apologize to them for. I'm talking socks, mannequins, vacuum cleaner hoses, and your right and left arms and the attachments thereof. I'm not apologizing to you all, but I think all of you owe them an apology. We're going to
That's right.
March apology for all the appliances damaged and the servitude of growth.
Apple pies and stuff, right?
Oh yeah, big time, definitely. Blueberries too. Yep. I don't know anything about them. I've just heard it online. So
that was good. I'm gonna use some of that, dude. That was good. That was very good. All right. Let's see. I was driving through Tempe the other day, and I saw a sign that said, "Come for nails." I thought, yeah, that sounds like a fair trade.
Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. All right. Wow. Okay, so I know it's definitely weird. Oh man. Okay, so I'm gonna give this one. Proposing marriage is weird because both people definitely have two completely different ideas of what the proposal should be like. She imagines him getting down on one knee, perfect romance setting. And he probably imagines someone else.
Nice.
I love you, honey.
All right, all right, all right. Phil,
Hmm.
I'll tell you how much my parents really liked me. To save money on buying Christmas presents every year, they tell me I was Jewish on Christmas and Christian on Hanukkah.
Oh my goodness. All right. Can I add one more to that marriage one?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So this is true story here, right? So my wife, we went into the Cave Jewelers, and I'm looking at where her eyes are on the carrots, and of course
Uh-huh.
she's Bugs Bunny with the biggest carrots. So she, gets her ring, looks great, and then she starts picking out the thinnest little band that she can find for me. And I told her, I was like, "You see this ring right here with the diamonds on it?" I told her, I said, "Listen, Beyonce says if you like it, better put a ring on it. I'm gonna take a step further. If you like it, put a ring on it for me, and make sure you do put some bling on it, okay?"
Oh, nice. Very nice.
I said, "Cause I'm worth it." All right.
That's right. That's right. All right, you've got one more?
Yep. One more. Um, so I recently got caught out there with a clickbait title that read, "North Korea warns the U.S. administration if it wants peace, it must avoid causing a stink." Uh, I'm gonna say hopefully they didn't watch the Grammy Awards with the WAP scene.
That would probably cause a stink right there. You're right.
Well, yeah, definitely.
I like it. I like it. I like it. All right. All right. All right. Here we go. So I hate when I tell people I like to have a kid and they'd ask what I'd rather have. Like, come on. Lord knows there's only two options, a boy and an abortion. I mean, come on.
Oh my goodness.
Phil, thank you for being here, sir. Thank you for participating in the Jiggity Joke Session. And I know it was a little, we had to work on the fly there, but I'm pretty sure your clientele will appreciate that. Dude, if we can get your dad and yourself back at some point, that would be amazing. Would you guys like to come back some point?
Absolutely, we'd be honored.
Awesome. Do you want to give some plugs out of the business, the email and handles and all that?
Absolutely. Well, first and foremost, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure just to share this time with you and be on your podcast. My website, ancestrylands.com. We're Ancestry Lands LLC on Facebook, Ancestry Lands on YouTube as well, Ancestry Lands on Instagram as well, just to keep on going. You
Yeah.
can email me at phdavis@ancestrylands.com. And the email's on my website. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. We got all our properties my wife and I own in title. We don't sell anything we don't own. Low down payment, no interest, no credit checks. Get your land today.
Awesome, dude. And you know what? To everybody watching out there, Phil, we'd love to have you. I'd love to see you sometime if you do get a chance to come down and watch a show in Phoenix. I've got some coming up in April. I've got one April 2nd at 9 p.m. in Gilbert, Arizona, JP's Comedy Club. Come check that out. I've got one on Saturday, April 3rd at 8 p.m. It's going to be the rooftop comedy. It's going to be down at the Clarendon Hotel and Spa. I've also got one April 7th is a Wednesday at 7:30 up at House of Comedy in the Desert Ridge area. I just got booked for another one back at JP's Comedy Club April 17th. It's a little bit further out, 7 p.m. But if you ever get a chance, Phil, love to see you down here. Love to see you all out there to support comedy. Phil, thank you for being on, sir. We'll see you later, man.
Have a good one. Thank you for having me.
Thanks again for watching. Stay safe and have fun in life, folks. Peace.